you so much, Dr. Lucita. That was awesome. That was just great. I mean, yeah. So, before OPP introduces the guest of today, there's a story I was reading. First of all, I heard it from a guy called Vusi Tembekwaya, and then I just researched about it and read about it. So, and it was about Toyota and Lexus. Now, Lexus is the luxury brand of Toyota, and now Toyota used to specialize in very economical cars in the market of the US. And then now competitors came, the likes of Lexus, the likes of Ford, and then Toyota noticed, there's an issue somewhere. So they sat down to brainstorm and there was like, okay, so what is the issue? Do we change the name of Toyota? What do we do? And it is said that a small voice from the back of this boardroom just said branding. And there was like, branding. So what do we do? So they came up with Lexus. Lexus is luxury export in the US to curb their competitors who are Ford and Chevrolet. So branding is so important. So I call upon Otieno Paul Peter to come and introduce the guest of today to us.
Beautiful, beautiful. Welcome everyone. I see there are a couple of others who probably are here for the first time. You are very much welcome. We do this every Monday morning from 7:15 to 8:15, except when it's a public holiday in Kenya. And Power Monday is a free platform, Zoom. We've been doing this for over 3 years, close to 4 years now. And occasionally we do meet and greet like we did last Saturday. Usually at least 3 times in a year, we meet in person to share, to connect, to make friends, build business, build good relationship. So today we have a great gentleman here, Derek Bbanga, and we are privileged to have him to share with us something that he's passionate about. He is an executive trainer, coach, and facilitator with his company, Public Image. I love the name of that company. Yeah? It's Public Image, supporting organizations and individuals for high performance. He has trained and worked with hundreds of individuals and teams, helping leaders, professionals, and entrepreneurs increase their earning potential. He truly enjoys helping people and fulfilling and filling the gap between where they are now and where they want to be in terms of emotional intelligence, leadership, communication, and executive presence. As an entrepreneur himself, Derek knows the highs and lows that come with running your own business and has the receipts to prove it. He says, I love passing on tried and tested advice I've picked up along the way to help others grow their businesses and dreams. Derek is a multiple TEDx speaker and a contributor in the media, giving advice on being seen, heard, and remembered for the right reasons. Yes, for the right reasons. It's important. He has a degree from SHU. I don't know which one that is in full. He'll tell us. University in Connecticut, US, and studied for an MBA at the Helsinki School of Economics in Finland. He is a graduate of the Strathmore Business School and is a certified emotional intelligence practitioner with Genos International. He worked as a financial analyst with Bloomberg in New York and a risk analyst with the Risk Institute in France. He was a communication strategist with the London-based consultancy Africa Practice. Derek is a keynote speaker at conferences and a corporate host and moderator. He is an ambassador with the Pan-African Advocacy Group, Africa 2.0. You might also catch him fulfilling his first love by acting in TV shows on Netflix, yes, or Showmax, and is certified as a fitness instructor. You can't get such people anywhere else except in Power Monday. So welcome, Derek. We are very much happy to have you today here. Thank you.
Oh my, you read that introduction in full. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here. Monday mornings, I love it. I love starting my days with some purpose, with some vigor, and just to see all of you people here on a Monday morning really gets me going. There are a few things I'd love to cover today in the brief time that we have together, particularly on this topic of personal branding, and I'll put in a little bit of executive presence. We might even talk some business etiquette if time allows, just to make sure the chat is working and I know that we are on the same page together. What animal did you wake up as today? So just to be clear, this animal represents your mood, your feelings, represents how you have woken up today. What animal are you? Please put it in the chat as I put up my slides, and we'll see what all of you good people are saying. Okay, let's see. Am I able to get into the chat over here and take a look and see what people have? Let's see. All right, so we have Phoenix. We have a turkey. I don't know what a turkey is. What feeling that represents. Honey badger, interesting. We've got a tortoise here from Teresa. And let's see, Bernadette, you woke up as a cat, fantastic. An eagle, purity. Asunta, you woke up as a phoenix. Catherine Kariba, a lion, that's you and me. Same WhatsApp group. A dove, Catherine, thank you. Milk and eagle, cheetah, ostrich, lions. Fantastic, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, this is a learning point as part of my entire presentation. Essentially, every time you wake up, check in with yourself, check in with your mood, how you are feeling. It could have been something that happened over, the weekend or the previous night or the previous day, something that you're holding over. The gateway, I think, to emotional intelligence and to personal branding is self-awareness. And this is just an interesting way where you can match how you are feeling to a particular animal. Once you are able to figure out how you're feeling, and all feelings are valid, by the way, it's just data. Whether that is a strong feeling or whether that is a great feeling, you can now begin to question yourself. Why am I feeling this way? What can I do to feel better? How can I prevent passing along these emotions to other people? It's a fantastic exercise, particularly to do it in the mornings, and you can do it periodically during the day. Check in with yourself and ask yourself, how am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? What do I need to feel? What can I do to feel better or to continue feeling the way I am? All right. And I just want to ask everybody, in terms of, if you think about the things that have made an impact on your life. So for example, I love the superhero genre. I love superhero movies. I've loved superhero actors ever since I was a child. And I remember when I was young, about 9 or 10 years old, in fact, my favorite superhero was Superman. But the superpower that I wanted to have was to be invisible. Now, I wanted to be invisible for a number of reasons. I wanted to be invisible. Say my parents were having a conversation and they asked me to leave the room, an adult conversation as a child in Ofukuzo. I wanted to be a fly on the wall. What are you discussing? Or my sister was on the phone. I wanted to eavesdrop on that conversation. And regrettably, in school, I wanted to sit at the back of the classroom and I wanted to hide. So for those reasons, I wanted to be invisible. But fast forward all these years later and look at what I do for a living. And you read it out very clearly there in terms of my profile. I have, I think, one of the most visible of careers. This is literally what I do for a living, is to stand in front of people, either virtually or in person, and be the center of attention and have all eyes on me. There is no hiding here. I can't hide the way I look. I can't hide my background. Everything is visible. And actually, this today is my superpower. My superpower is to be seen, to be heard, and to be remembered for the right reasons. And that superpower, ladies and gentlemen, is what I want you to have. That to me is the crux of this topic of sort of branding yourself, okay? Is being seen, heard, and remembered for the right reasons. Not because you're running around without any clothes on. Yes, you'll be seen, you'll be heard, you'll certainly be remembered, but for the right reasons. And like anything that you have a goal or you set your mind to, there has to be a strategy. There has to be a way of doing this that follows some logical procedure in order for you to, I'll say, maximize your opportunities. All right. Everybody in this room is looking for opportunities, not just to be the best version of themselves, but opportunities to get ahead, to work on influence, to work on status, to work on networking skills. Okay. And in order for you to maximize those opportunities, you need to have favorable outcomes. And so there has to be a way in which you present yourself to the world, present yourself to your target market, present yourself to a particular audience that allows you to be seen in a particular light. Everything that I have done in terms of, say, this particular meeting, including what I'm wearing, this tie with the little polka dots, to this particular vest, to the background, to the lighting, to everything. Regrettably, we can't get the slides right now. Is done for you, this particular audience, to drive you to a particular conclusion about me, so that that outcome, hopefully, is going to work in my favor. All right, so remember, maximizing opportunities and working on having favorable outcomes. So just again, for me, and to involve you in this conversation, what outcomes would you like to have in your life? You can just put them in the chat, and you can put, one word or just something brief in the chat. What outcomes are you looking for, say, professionally? It could be anything from, say, leadership, or it could be growth, or it could be networking, or it could be, even the very topic itself, branding yourself. What are you looking to achieve? Just put there in the chat, and we'll just take a look at some of the things that you put inside there. I'm curious to see. Let's see. Okay, so impact. Thank you, Catherine. I appreciate that. All right. Success. Thank you very much. Learning. Yes, Wanjiku, for sure. Okay. Yes, and I mean, this is obviously an exercise that you can think about. Success. Thank you, Eric. This is an activity that you can do by yourself. But I want you to think about the strategies that you're employing to get success, or influence, or impact, or positioning. Thank you, Catherine. Okay, professional storyteller. Thank you, Sylvia. And by the way, everything for me. You know what? I'm going to share an acronym with you called the CASH formula for branding and presence. The CASH formula. Now, when I say CASH, I'm not talking about cash with a C, but I'm talking about cash with a K, where the K is a letter that stands for a particular word. And I'm going to tell you what that word is. That word is knowledge. So cash, you start with a K, which is knowledge. So let's talk about knowledge. To me, life is about taking in something new every day. In fact, I'd like to live my life so that every evening I can reflect on the day and say, I picked up something new from here, or I picked up, I learned a new way of doing something, or I didn't know that this is the way a particular thing was done. In other words, what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, is that turn yourself into a walking, absorbing machine of knowledge. And by the way, the democratization of, say, the internet, the digital age that we live in, means that this information is literally at the tip of your fingers. So that brings up certain things that you want to be aware of. You've got to be a little bit discerning. You've got to be a little bit judgmental with where you are accessing this particular knowledge. And that's not to say that you can't go around and get knowledge in all the different places. I mean, for example, if I'm commuting to work, like I'm going to be doing shortly, once we're done with this conversation, I'm fortunate enough, I can control the source of information that I'm receiving on my way to work. In other words, I can control what I'm listening to. And for me, rather than listening to, say, I don't know, a radio station like Kiss FM, where they may be talking about the disintegration of somebody's marriage, if you get what I'm saying, all right? And there's certainly a place for humor, and there's certainly a place for comedy. Our lives are tough enough as it is. But for me, I will use that opportunity to listen to a podcast or listen to an audiobook, and particularly in the mornings, which is why I was so excited to be a part of this conversation. The mornings is where you set yourself up for success. So start your mornings where you are absorbing information that is going to help you, not just with that day, but even your short-term and your long-term goals. Like being a part of this wonderful meeting, a Power Monday, where you're getting information that is going to set you up for success. All right. So, and particularly, I'm, like I said, a huge fan of podcasts and audiobooks and things of that nature. And again, becoming conversant with wide areas of knowledge, even things that may not necessarily be pertinent to me at that particular time. You know, how is knowledge about geishas in Japan going to help me in my daily activities? Well, there might be a day, or there might be a networking opportunity where that sort of information, that sort of information that not everybody knows, comes in handy. Okay, without belaboring the point, let me move on. The A in the CASH formula stands for attitude. And for me, attitude is a driver. It is what is inside. Now, listen. Look, our lives, certainly as I've alluded to, may not be perfect. We may have a lot of things going on. But for me, attitude is the driver towards success, particularly in branding myself, because what I feel on the inside reflects on the outside. You know, let me tell you guys, I wake up every morning, and by the way, there's another thing about waking up. I'm a huge fan of, say, Robin Sharma. Robin Sharma talks about the 5 a.m. club. Now, that's not to say that you have to wake up at 4 in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning, but generally, typically speaking, unless your job is a nighttime activity, the early bird does catch the worm. Those cliches run true. The earlier you start your day, the more primed you are for success. And we can have a conversation about that. And by the way, it allows you to do so many things, whether it's exercise, meditating, goal setting, position yourself for success, checking in yourself, working on your self-awareness. So generally, that is why if you start your mornings earlier, like this meeting, you are generally able to put all these things in place that set you up for success during the rest of the day. But just reflecting on attitude, I wake up, I look in the mirror and I say, God, why did you make me so handsome? Now, that's not to say, ladies, that I am the most handsome person. Far be it. But it is my attitude towards myself that sets me up for how I view things during the rest of the day. Once you set yourself up with that kind of confidence in yourself, that you consider yourself to be a particular way, versus waking up in the morning, looking in the mirror and say, God, why did you make me so short? Nothing wrong with being vertically challenged. But you understand there is a particular way that you can view yourself, a particular lens. So set yourself up for success by viewing yourself through a positive lens, positive in terms of the world, positive in terms of your work, your job, what it is that you do. God did not put you on this earth by accident. There is a destiny for all of us. Okay, we can talk about attitude some more. Thank you. Catherine, you say I'm speaking your language. Wonderful. The S in CASH is for soft skills. Now, I call it soft skills, but ladies and gentlemen, these are not soft skills. These are knowledge skills. These are power skills. Okay? These are life skills. And when we talk about that, I'm obviously referring to anything other than the technical skills that you need to succeed in whatever it is that you do as a professional, as an entrepreneur, as a student, as somebody who might be in the skilled trades or working in high finance, whatever it is that you do. Okay? This ability to, for example, communicate so that you speak from the heart to the heart, that is a power skill. All right? The ability to reflect on your feelings and have that self-awareness so that you can marshal resilience, that is a power skill. double down, triple down, quadruple down on those skills. Work on them. I tell the professionals that I encounter that, to me, the number one power skill that I think everybody should have, believe it or not, is public speaking. Public speaking gives you such an advantage. And by the way, it's not about speaking to 200 or 2,000 or 20 people. Even in a one-on-one conversation, even in a virtual conversation, the skills of public speaking impact your communication like no other. All right. Fantastic. So the H then is for habits. Habits. Success work habits. Okay? And by the way, a habit is something that is repeated without effort, that becomes part of your DNA. So the ability to communicate well, the ability to present a version of yourself that allows you to have favorable outcomes, the ability to marshal resilience so that you can work through the ups and downs of life. Those are just habits. You don't have to work on them. They become easy. And by the way, as human beings, we get up and sometimes we fall down. Trust me, when our world changed a few years ago, there were plenty of days that I would wake up in the morning and I would look up and I would turn around and I'd want to go back to sleep. But the habit that I had developed through resilience, through working on not getting an amygdala hijack and various things that I had done, allowed me to power through particularly difficult or challenging circumstances. All right. We're doing this without the slides, so fantastic. If you feel me and what I am saying has connected with you, imekuguza hapa kidogo, just put a yes in the chat, which allows me to feel that we are on the same page. Thank you, Sylvia. Yes, Milka. Yes, Sylvia. Yes, Teresa. I love the yeses. Yes, yes, Martha. Yes, Susan. Fantastic, guys. Okay. So if you don't have slides, this is what we're going to do. I am going to put some numbers here. Let me put them on my trusty whiteboard here. All right. Can you guys see those? Can you see those numbers?
Yes, yes.
You can see all of them.
55, 38, 7.
Thank you.
Three
Somebody
numbers,
can put them in the
55,
chat.
38, and 7.
All right. What do you
Yes.
think those numbers stand for? What are those numbers? 55, 38, and 7. What are those numbers? What do you think those numbers are? Ages. Okay, thank you. These are to do with communication. Catherine, you're not allowed to talk because you have the cheat code, the cheat sheet, because you're a trainer. Okay. All right. Well, you're right. 7, perfect. Thank you. So for me, these numbers are important because you're right. It does have to do with communication. Did you know? And again, we can have, it's not my way or the highway. It's my considered opinion that 55% of what we're communicating is through, I'm going to be as specific as possible. I don't know again if you can see that. Body language and dress. Now, when I say dress, of course, I'm talking about, what you're wearing. So 55%, and this is Albert Merabian. People have questioned these. Listen, let's just go with the flow. All right? 55% of our communication is what you see. All right? Presumably, if you're not visually impaired. So you see my body language, you see what I'm wearing, you see my authentic background in my little studio here. Okay? And for me, this is because it's over 50%. It behooves you, and I'm going to go through all these numbers, of course. But I think working on how to present yourself. So, for example, when I do these virtual sessions, you'll notice that I'm standing. I'm not sitting, because for me, body language is actually one of the ways that we consciously or subconsciously receive a message. And you know this is nothing new that I am telling you. I'm sure there have been people who've spoken here before, who've talked on body language before. But what they may not have mentioned is that there are two hormones in your body. One is called testosterone, and the other is called cortisol. Testosterone and cortisol. And by the way, whether you're a man or you're a woman, these hormones are present amongst the many. And did you know that you can raise the level of testosterone, which, by the way, let's call it the good hormone, because this is what allows you to be confident, dare I say, charismatic, allows you to communicate with certain clarity, okay? You can raise the level of testosterone simply by how you hold your body. So I want everyone to do an audit right now as you're sitting and listening to me. Or maybe you're in bed. I had a conversation earlier where somebody said they've just woken up. I don't know what your particular circumstances are, but do an audit on your body and ask yourself, do you think how your body is right now is raising the level of testosterone? Or is it raising the level of cortisol, which, by the way, is known as cortisol is known as the stress hormone, okay? And of course, they're dueling within your body. Now, as somebody who is actually presenting, as I said, being seen, heard, and remembered for the right reasons, I've raised my level of testosterone by standing. So first of all, opening up your body, all right? So virtually standing rather than sitting raises the level of testosterone, therefore making me hopefully a more impactful communicator. As you can see how I am using my body language and my hands. So for example, my hands are not here. They're not touching each other. In fact, I don't have my limbs touching each other. And again, having your limbs touching each other, particularly when you are communicating, lowers the level of testosterone, raises the level of cortisol. So everything that I'm doing is sort of raising that. And that, by the way, is helping me. That is not even helping you. It is helping me, the person who is speaking, just by making sure that my body language is increasing my level of testosterone and lowering my level of cortisol. Now, if I was sitting, if my hands were crossed, if I was touching my face, without going into too much of that because of the time, you would be raising the level of cortisol and the stress. So think about the situations that you're going to be in, whether it's today or later this week. You know, who are you going to be in front of, your target market? Do an audit on your body language and make sure that you're helping yourself. Now, secondly, it is helping you, the audience who is looking at me, because you look at me and my chin is parallel to the ground, my shoulders are open, I've open body language. And yes, that signifies to you that I am communicating with some sort of impact. But never forget, the first person it helps is you. All right. I'm going to put a code just there on body language. By the way, this is a fascinating topic, everything including to micro gestures in terms of how you can help yourself become a more powerful brand. Let's talk a little bit about the image business, what you wear. Now, again, believe me, I know the generations that I generally are speaking to. I've looked at the people in this audience. I realize that when we're talking, I myself might be a baby boomer, and whether I'm talking to millennials or Gen Zs or Gen Ys, there's a particular way that people present themselves in terms of dressing that perhaps there might be a little bit of a disconnect there. Certainly the pandemic changed how we dressed and everything. But for me, one of the ways that you can help an audience buy you, and never forget, this personal branding is about helping people buy you professionally. It's about tilting the scales in your favor to get those favorable outcomes, maybe not by much, but over time. And so how I present myself to a particular audience, there's a strategy behind it. There's a strategy between combining this and this. So I'm going to just mention three things. Let me just jot them down on this since we don't have the slides. And I'm going to say the number one thing I think for most people would be, let me write them down. And they're not necessarily in this particular order, but here you, can you guys see that? The lights are in the way. Fit, fabric, and function. fit, fabric, and function. So let's talk about function first. Function obviously is the event, the situation, the circumstances, okay? And generally, and again, when I do these sessions in a longer term, we go into so much conversation about this. But generally, working your way up the ladder in terms of particular events or functions. And that's not to say that you have to be dressed in a three-piece suit or you have to be wearing a skirt suit with heels. But by the way, here are two mantras that I will share with you. Ladies, here's one. No woman ever conquered the world in flats. Take it or leave it. You can throw your barbs at me later. No woman conquered the world in flats. That's number one. Let me spare you with some of my other Marxisms. And again, these are conversations that we have a lot of fun with, talking with, particularly with ladies and even with the gentlemen. So the function. So generally, I would say dress better than the event calls for. And I'll leave that to interpretation. Secondly, let's talk about fit. So fit just means that the clothes work for your body and your body shape. We all have different body shapes. God in his infinite mercy presented us with particular body shapes, whether you're a man or a woman. Working to enhance your particular body shape is a vital thing, and many people are clueless about this. And this is what I mean by fit. And then when I talk about fabric, what I'm talking about is working with different, how do I put this, materials, particularly when you are face-to-face with people, okay? So you guys might not notice, this is actually a wool tie, all right? Now, this, when seen visually, face-to-face, you might not notice it now virtually, presents a particular visual effect to someone in person that actually has the objective of enhancing my brand. And there's a science behind this, trust me. And so when it comes to, particularly when it comes to how you present your image and the way you dress in front of people, think about those three things. I think maybe what I'll add is that there is a correlation between how you dress and how you perform. So people have called this the halo effect. And I think you know that. If you dress skewed, perhaps a little bit more appropriate, let me use that word, doesn't have to be better or professional, more appropriate for the occasion, you tend to perform better during that particular event or that particular situation. Secondly, I will say if you want to engender things like trust, discipline, things like that, you know, the combination, for example, of this tie with this waistcoat and this blue shirt, I've worked on this because it has enhanced how I present my particular visual image to you. And there is a certain discipline that is inherent. And again, there's part of this is the halo effect, which you, my target market, takes me as being perhaps disciplined in terms of other areas of my work. So suffice it to say, I will leave it at this. The way you present your visual image as part of that 55% can work a long way in terms of how your target market receives you and receives your message. Okay, let me just move on to the rest. 38%, ladies and gentlemen, is voice. Now, for those of you who are in the know, how you use your voice is important. It is not what you say, it is how you say it. And working on your voice. And again, there's so many ways. I'll leave you with three things when it comes to the voice. Number one, I think speaking, and this might be particular to this particular audience, generally speaking up, speaking louder, increasing volume that you're normally used to, particularly when you are communicating a message, whether it's a one-on-one meeting, get used to speaking. You know, in my bio, you heard that I've traveled in several countries. You know, there are certain countries where it is part of their, I think, cultural heritage for them to speak louder, whereas here, we tend to speak a little bit quieter. Now, not that I'm judging the cultural iniquities, but to me, speaking louder tends to connect better with an audience. People tend to hear you. And you don't have to sound like a twirly at a Labor Day rally. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about using your voice to its full potential in order for you to connect with an audience. So speak louder, speaking slightly slower. Again, I listen to Ken speaking, I have an hour all the time like this. Speaking slightly slower, particularly when you're communicating a particular message, will only enhance your brand. And then finally, I will say your voice is a musical instrument. So if you notice my voice, and I'm trained in this, obviously, but using different tones, pitches, variation, emphasizing certain words, all of this helps with communicating my message. This would be a particularly boring session if I was just to drone on in a monotone and keep talking like that. So how you use your voice. So 7% is the message itself. Now, that's not to say that the message is completely discounted. And you could look the part, you can sound the part, alafu ukifungua mdomo, sumu inatoka. People say you have no idea what you're talking about. But actually, assuming that the message that you're talking about your business, you're talking about communicating with impact, then that message can be diluted by not working on the 55 and the 38. I hope I've got my message through when it comes to that. Let me take a quick check on the time. Oh my God, time is flying. Okay. I think to sort of put a coda on this and to wrap up this message, let me say that it is incumbent upon you to present a version of yourself that, yes, is authentic, but a version of you that allows you to be able to succeed in this hyper-competitive world that we live in, and to use every advantage that you can based on what has been provided. Like I alluded to, tilting those scales in your favor. The most valuable real estate is a real estate that you occupy in somebody's mind when people think about you and you are front and center in their mind for positive reasons. Okay? Let me share a quick story. So there's something called the curse of Cassandra. So in the ancient Greek times, there lived a beautiful woman called Cassandra. And she was not only beautiful, but she had a particular gift. And the gift that she had was to be able to foretell people's futures. So just think about that. She could look at you and she could tell you exactly what was going to happen to you. And she usually did this, but she always added the fact that this was when that particular person was going to die. So just as an aside, if you knew the hour and the minute and the day that you are going to shake off this mortal coil, in the words of Shakespeare, and expire on this earth, I mean, that is an inevitable end all of us are going to. None of us knows when. But if somebody could tell you with 100% degree of accuracy that you have 2 days left to live, or 2 years, or 2 minutes, what would you do? Well, just think about that. What would you do? Now, back to Cassandra. Cassandra attracted admirers far and wide. One of the admirers she attracted was one of the gods in Mount Olympus, Apollo. So Apollo came down. He tried to make his advances on Cassandra. She rebuffed him, and he decided to punish her. Now, he punished her by allowing her to keep that gift, but nobody believed her. So think about it. Cassandra could foretell people's future. She could still foretell that gift, but nobody believed her. Put this in the context of where you are right now. You have a fantastic message. You have a fantastic business. You have something worthwhile saying, but the audience does not receive it. You have to have meeting after meeting after meeting to convince someone to buy your product or to buy your service or to buy you. Remember, you're in the business of professionally helping people buy you. Okay, and that is what I mean by the curse of Cassandra. We all have wonderful messages. We all have fantastic products. We all are wonderful brands, but there is something inherent that our target market doesn't automatically believe us, and we have to work harder. this business of branding and executive presence, a lot of these things that I talk about are about making it easy for the target market to receive my message. Okay? And people buy you, by the way, before they buy any product that you might have. So tilt those scales in your favor, work on making it easy, and use some of this, you might even call it uncommon knowledge, in order for you to be able to connect with a particular audience and for them to buy you. Barbara Walters, who is a venerable journalist, actually, may she rest in peace. If you Google Barbara Walters, she interviewed kings, queens, dictators. She was in the game for many, many years. She said that it is, what is the correct quote? Let me pull it up here. The Barbara Walters quote. I just want to make sure that I get it. She said, I want to make sure I get this quote correct. Barbara Walters. Here we go. It is not too melodramatic. It is not too melodramatic. Now, that word melodramatic, what does that mean? Melodramatic means over the top. You know, like a Nigerian movie. They can't just say, I like a cup of tea. Can I have a cup of tea? Or over the top. So the quote is, it is not too melodramatic to say that your destiny, it is not too melodramatic to say that your destiny is where you're going to end up. As I said or alluded to earlier, we're all marching to that inevitable end. And that destiny is what people are going to write on your gravestone, what people are going to say about you. Heck, your destiny starts now. Part of the definition of personal branding is what people say about you when you are not in the room. So that quote, it is not too melodramatic to say that your destiny revolves on your brand and your image. It is not too melodramatic to say that your destiny revolves on your brand and your image. And if you internalize those words, you can begin to wake up every day, not just on Power Mondays, and say to yourself, what do I want my destiny at the end of this day to be? And therefore, what do I need to strategically put in place in terms of my brand and my image in order for me to achieve that particular goal? Okay. I will leave it there for you, and I'm happy to take any questions. I think it's 8 o'clock, correct?
Yes, it's 5 minutes after 8.
5 minutes past 8. I overshot the
Yes.
mark.
Yes.
So
Thank you very much.
we have several questions.
Okay.
And no, just to emphasize on the where you say that no woman has ever conquered the world in flats. It's interesting. Personally, there's a way I feel when I'm in flats, and there's a way I feel when I'm in hills. When I'm in hills, I feel like by the way, there's nothing I can't do. And I'm not talking about the 8-inch heels that people know. When I am in professional pumps and just very nice, beautiful heels, I feel like there's nothing I cannot conquer. There's no room I can't enter. You get me? But when I'm in flats, I feel a bit limited. Yeah. So, and then I feel there's a way that heels just elevate your image. Yeah. So let's go on.
Fantastic.
Let's go.
And like I said, I say that, and I know the kind of emotions it stirs in various people. There are some people who are like, look at this guy. He wants to drag us back to the 60s where we're stuck in makeup and heels. But it's part of that conversation about how you feel. And again, I'm open to having that conversation. I have it with so many ladies. Okay, so thank you for making that affirmation.
So a question from Martha Ann Borre.
Yes.
Does functionality of how you dress fall under function?
Does functionality of how you dress fall under function?
Function, yes.
Okay, I'm not.
Yeah, that was related to the 3 Fs, the fit,
Yes.
function, and yeah. So that is how that question came in.
Right. No, I understand. I'm just trying to sort of interpret exactly what she wants. Listen, here's what I will say. You know, so you know, I know how some people dress, right? Jeans, flats, top, out of the house. I mean, we have other things to worry about. After all, who cares about what I'm wearing, right? But what I want is for you to think about the audience that you're going to meet, all right? Think about the situation that you're going into, literally that particular function. And then dress in a way that's going to give you maximum impact, particularly if you're meeting a particular person. And the stakes could be as profound as changing your life to buying eggs at the kiosk. Who cares what you're wearing if you're dashing to the kiosk to go buy eggs and come back? All right? Perhaps the impact might not be as profound in terms of what you're wearing. So that's what I'm saying. I look at every situation before I leave the house, heck, even while I'm in the house. And I say to myself, what is the impact that I want to have on myself and on any particular audience? And by the way, dashing to the kiosk to get milk is where I bump into people who say, kumbe ni wewe, aren't you that guy? So I also have a particular responsibility in terms of that confirmation bias. You're the guy who's always talking about dressing appropriately, and look at how you present yourself. And that's not to say that I don't dress down. Believe me, I do. But are you seeing the point that I'm trying to make here and hopefully answering that particular question? I don't want to leave things to chance, to bump into somebody and, for example, my particular brand to be compromised. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think
Yes.
it's so true because there's a study that I was just going through about the COVID period, and people were saying that even when you're working from home, if you go with your pajamas to work, you won't be as productive as if you woke up, showered, had maybe your official or maybe your casual smart, and then sat in your office before your computer, before your laptop. You're going to accomplish so much as compared to if you just woke up, went to the bathroom, brushed your teeth, went, fixed a cup of coffee, and then went to and sat before your laptop. You're not going to accomplish so much in that situation. So another question from Dr. Eda. And then after this question, Anton, you're going to ask your question. What if you have a backache? I think she was just talking about when you said about heels. No woman has ever conquered the world in flats.
I didn't want this conversation to be about heels. Of course, if you have medical problems, right? I'm not saying you have to wear heels. My saying no woman conquered heels was partly a metaphor. Obviously, if you have medical problems, that comes first, all right? You need to be the best version of yourself. So hopefully that answers that.
Very true. Anton, kindly ask your question. Anton Wambura. She's unmuted.
All right. Thank you, Derek, for that wonderful presentation. And mine is a little bit more philosophical. Right now, okay, I understand the message, but I'm also battling with two contrasts. The first one is the fake it till you make it syndrome. So that you find that in this city, it is really, really very difficult to know the real you, because everybody is literally interacting with another person's mask. I wear my mask, you wear your mask, and you find that the interaction is between these two masks and not between the two of us. The second one is, I look at the Bill Gates or the Mark Zuckerberg image, and also within the context of what we post on social media. To what extent is this public image advocacy robbing us from authentic relationships?
Okay. So first of all, let me address the fact that you talked about Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates. And if we're just specifically talking about how they present themselves, right, which might be a little bit more, say, casual than the rest of us. First of all, those two gentlemen belong to a very tiny subset of humanity. 0.000000001% of people have that type of money. That is a special case. For the rest of us, all right, regular human beings, we have to work a little bit harder in order for us to achieve perhaps that level of success. And even then, those particular gentlemen are associated with products that present themselves in the best way possible. Facebook is constantly working on how it makes itself more attractive in order for you to be on that platform forever. So even their products are inherently, they work on the attractiveness of the product or the service in order to attract us. So there is something to be said about that. But going back to perhaps the first part of your question, remember I talked about cash and the attitude. If I dress this way in order for me to walk into office buildings so that I can steal laptops, then I have got the whole thing backwards, because my attitude is not one of helping people. It's my attitude is one of taking advantage of people by stealing their property. Okay? There has to be obviously an authentic self, and that authentic self shouldn't be, I'm just going to present myself to the world, take it or leave it. The world is not fair. People will judge you fairly or unfairly. Okay? And one of the ways they will judge you is you can't fight how the brain reacts to some of the things that I have talked about. So, just to answer your question, obviously your heart has to be in the right place. Okay? Favorable outcomes for me is helping people, not taking away from them. Therefore, this that I'm presenting, hopefully is the authentic me.
Yeah, maybe just to add on to that, how would you help the so-called the reserved, the people who are reserved, and especially those who are social media shy, to be more proactive on their image?
I didn't even touch on that, by the way. I have a whole topic on social media and your public image on social media. Anton, we live in a world.
So PP, we have another session.
Yes, your brand is online and offline as well. This is the world that we live in today. Part of how you present yourself is on. Let me tell you something. Any professional that I encounter, the first thing I do is I Google them. And those results tell me a lot about them. If you have no footprint, first of all, it tells me one thing. Either you've scrubbed your footprint, which means you're hiding from something, or you're too lazy to know that part of how you are being perceived is through the digital airwaves, if you will. So you have to be strategic with that footprint. And again, I have courses on I talk about LinkedIn. I talk about how to use these platforms, your Instagram and your Facebooks. We didn't touch that. So having a digital footprint and also being strategic in terms of how you present yourself there is vital for your personal brand, for sure. Sorry, Anton, there was something else that you had just mentioned. I think I missed it at the beginning. Okay, it's fine, no problem. I'm sure there are other people with questions. We can crack on.
Okay, so any other question? There's someone who's talking, who said, "How can I be added to the WhatsApp group?" There's a link that will be sent on the chat, and then you can be added on the WhatsApp group. Any other question?
Odhiambo
Okay.
asked, how about virtual interviews? Do you still need to think about public, about your look on virtual platforms? You are conducting a virtual interview.
Who's asking that question?
Odhiambo himself.
Odhiambo, turn on your camera. I've just finished talking about your image. Online, offline, virtually. You're seeing me virtually. Absolutely, Odhiambo. You have to work on how you present yourself virtually. And by the way, I encourage everybody, if you have virtual interviews, turn on your camera in those meetings. And again, we have my sessions, we talk about this. When is the appropriate time to turn on the camera, turn off the camera, virtual background, real background. These are all conversations that we have, but absolutely, you are being judged fairly or unfairly based on how you present yourself virtually. It's even more incumbent on you to make sure you're taking care of that. Lights, sound, all of that. Absolutely. tilt those scales in your favor so that people will just say, the job is yours. Don't leave it to chance.
Maybe the last question, we are out of time, was from Susan. Thank you very much for this impactful session.
Yeah.
Is public speaking skill something that can be self-taught, or one has to seek professional coaching on this? Any tips on the same?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can Google anything online and get information, but I would advise you to work with somebody, i.e. myself, like me, who is perhaps can take you through some more strategic ways of enhancing your public speaking. But like anything, or you can join organizations. I'm sure there are Toastmasters here. So there are various ways that you can begin to help and increase your public speaking. You can go on YouTube and listen to fantastic speakers and begin to cull and pick things about what makes them so impactful with their messages.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Guys, now imagine if you're joining Power Monday for the first time. This is what you always miss. You get me? We get speakers who are on point, speakers who are in season. So kindly. Also, as I finish and I call upon the person who is going to give a vote of thanks, I was just thinking about the Bill Gates and the Facebook guy issue, and I was asking myself, do the people who work in the organizations dress like them? I don't think so. I don't think people who work for them, I don't even think they're managers. I don't think even in board meetings, like the directors would go to that board meeting dressed like Mark Zuckerberg or whatever his name is. So I definitely wouldn't dress like him just because I feel like being like him, or that is my style. I can't. I just can't.
And by the way, let me add, when he's before Congress, he's been hauled before Congress. Now I think he goes in every other month. He dresses conventionally in a suit and a tie. So he knows for that particular event, I can't come dressed in a hoodie. I have to dress appropriately for that particular event. You're speaking to members of Congress. He wears a suit and a tie, just like the rest of us. So he also knows how to dress appropriately for particular functions or events. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Derek. His contact is on the chat. We are also going to share his contacts on WhatsApp. I am pretty sure in this time and season, very many people will want to get in touch with you and just many people need help in that section. So Dr. Melvin Blima, are you around? Kindly give a vote of thanks. If he is not around, then I call upon Antonia Mutunga.
Dr. Melvin was around.
Yes, I used to saw him.
Unless he dropped.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you.
Yes. Turn on your camera. Tumeambiwa hivyo.
Oh God, Derek is gonna mess me up here.
You already were on your camera
Right.
anyway. I'll tell you at the beginning. Yes. I love
Okay,
the
wonderful.
beard.
Okay. It's my pleasure actually to give a vote of thanks to Derek Bbanga, who has dressed the part, who has delivered with panache, and who has used vocal variety and stage presence to his advantage. He's become a role model for us here at Power Monday, and we can't get enough of him. Trust me, if you feel that you are a bit uncomfortable in social circumstances. So for example, you've gone to a dinner, you don't know how to handle a fork and knife properly. You want to chat with Derek. If you want to change your dress style and your shoes, perhaps he can give you an assessment, a quick assessment, just from your Facebook profile, just from the way you present yourself online, and get you to improve. Because we dress to impress, and you are addressed the way you dress. Thank you so much, Derek, for that very important message. And we look forward to getting more tidbits from you in future. Back to you, OPP.
I thought it was Lady Noel, but thank you very much, Dr. Melvin. You see, yes, Noel, you can pick it up.
No, just go on. Just go on. Just go on.
So thank you very much, Derek. It's a beautiful message, and that's why I opted for this first before the other one because I figured out this is much more critical. Most times when I'm meeting people or running virtual classes, I tell them, please turn on your camera. Somebody is a business person, but they do not want to turn on their camera and whatever. And all this boils down to image. And then enough of us are also absent online. But then they complain that their businesses are not working. The way they present themselves, the 55 thing, if you get nil there, the 7% will not add value. You are E already. You're in E grade. And the voice comes through training, yeah, and all that. So it's good that you've put that message. At least people would not accuse me for saying that all the time. Thank you very much for that. And we are hoping to have you again, as we said, next month, to speak about a topic you love, which is emotional intelligence and safety in workplaces. So you can also put your number there for people, just in case you've not put it, for people who are willing to reach out to you directly. I had placed your contact, your bio in our WhatsApp group. And as I said, for people who may not know, we have a WhatsApp group for this team. And to join that WhatsApp group, you just need to fill in the form in the link I've put, which is liveyourdream.co.ke/Power Monday. And every Wednesday, we also have an opportunity to share what we do, to share flyers. And once in a month, that is the first Wednesday of the month, we have a market day and people transact businesses. As I told you at the beginning, we also have meet and greet 3 times a year. The next one is going to be in July. And we will be very happy to have you. Well, for people who are here for the first time, at least now you know. The other thing is Live Your Dream, which is the host for Power Monday, is partnered with other entities to offer a cybersecurity training, which will be scholarship. You are not going to be paying anything, but it's going to be an in-person training on 25th of April. And I've put a contact there, consult@liveyourdream.co.ke. You can email us and you will be enlisted, or you will be considered, because the numbers are limited. We only want 25 maximum. So the moment that number is reached appropriately, then the rest will be left out. Otherwise, we usually have this session every Monday from 7:15 to 8:15 Nairobi time. And I want to welcome all of you, and we use the same link. I want to welcome Noel to proceed if there is anything else. Let me stop the record.